Mesailin Ravami. Dam Ravami, Osir Lo Adam Shietze Benitzitzot or Shlagabi Raglov. Person not allowed to go out of his house with urinary drops on his feet. It looks like the pasuk in Kiseitze says Lo Yavop Tzuadakat Krushafcha Bikal Hashem. A person with a crushed testicle or with a damaged urethra, where he's leaking urine through a urethro-cutaneous fistula, a hole between the urethra and the skin. So in that situation, you can't ejaculate properly, you can't have children. Therefore, if people see a person with urine on his shoes, he's going to think that since a Krush Shufla can't have children, it looks like it's going to say that people are going to think that his children are mamzerim. If a person has some feces near his anal outside canal, usher likros kriyashma. You can't read kriyashma. What's the case? If you can see it, pshita that you're not allowed. You can't read kriyashma with soa within 4 amas. Lo nearest. If it can't be seen, then what do you mean? People walk around. We're not angels. If it's inside your body, what do you mean? You can't read kriyashma. So the case is lo tzricha di yoshe v'niris. When he sits, you can see it, but oimed, the area closes up. Veinu niris. In those situations, you may not read kriyashma. Then why is that different? Why would that be different than having so on your skin? And we know the itmar shayu b'veis, if a person has so on his skin or his hand is in the beis hakisei, but he's outside, so it's machlokas amiroi. Ravuna Amar muterli cross. Amar also because it says it's also. So why should there be a difference if it's on your skin? And Ravuna says it's mutter but if it's near the anal area, everyone says it's also. So the Gemara says,
happy.
Soa in its place, nafish zuama. It has more of an odor, and therefore it's going to create an isser to read. But shalobim koma, it's already dried up, so lo nafish zuama. So the zuama is not too great. Torah bara. Halacha besuda that adam yotzi lashtin mayim. Person who's eating a meal and goes out to urinate, not till yada achas v'nichnas. He washes only one hand, because with that hand he cleaned off the urinary drops on his shoes. He already washed for the suda. But if he went out of the dining room and spoke to a friend, so he had hesach hadas. Once you have hesach hadas, noitel shtei yoda v'nichlas. Then you have to wash your hands before you come in. He shouldn't do it outside where the people don't see him. People will think he didn't wash his hands. He comes in, he sits down, and the shamus brings him, like we do by the Seder night, and he asks the other guests if anyone needs to wash their hands as well. This din that you have to wash your hands publicly, that's lo amar el lishtos. That's you coming in to drink, let's say wine. Avalechol, then you don't, there's no chshad that you're going to eat without until sedar. Everybody knows that he's not going to come in with dirty hands to eat. And va'ana, I'm a mefunik. I'm very sensitive about cleanliness. I don't have to wash my hands publicly when I come in to drink, because everybody knows that I won't come in unless I wash. When a Kohen comes in, even though he's tohar, but he comes in from the outside into the base of Mikdash, you have to go to the mikveh again. And on Yom Kippur, the Kohen Gadol does chamesh tvilos vasar kiddushim. He immerses 5 times and washes his hands and feet 10 times. Toivel Kohen Gadol Makadosh Bo Bayom. Yeah, those are the 5 and 10 washings that a Kohen Gadol does on Yom Kippur. V'kulam b'kodesh l'beis ha'parva. We showed that up on the second floor was the Beis HaTefillah for the Kohen Gadol, and it's in the Azara, and therefore all of these tefillahs and washings are in the Azara, except for the first one, Chutz Bezu Bilvad, which the first one doesn't have to be b'kodesh. After they did the tefillah, Parsu Sadin Shalboitz Ben Olveinaam, they spread a sheet so that nobody sees the nakedness of the Kohen Gadol for tznius purposes. Sholos Ben Zoima Tefillah Zu Lama. I understand, if a person's tohor, why does he have to be tefillah again? So Ben Zoma says it's a kavachoy. Amar lehem. Uma mishana mikodesh l'kodesh. The Kohen Gadol on Yom Kippur, when he goes from the Azara into the Ulam, he's going from one area of Kodesh to another area of Kodesh, or from the Ulam to the Kodesh Kadoshim. Each time he requires a tefillah. So Hamishana Mechol Kodesh, and if you're going from Chol to the Azara, or and Mimakom She'ein Onish Kodesh, L'Makom She'onish Kodesh, a place where if you went in Betuma into the Azara or the Ulam or Kodesh Kadoshim, there would be kares. So Eino Din Shaton Tefillah. So certainly on entering from outside into the Azara, an extra tefillah was required. Rabbi Yehuda Omer, Srach Tefillah Hizu. This is a gzeira. We want him to remember Kadeshi Yizkor Tuma Yishona Shabiyada V'Yifros. Maybe it'll remind him, oh, I was metame by Tumas Mace or by Tumas Sheretz, and he needs to count 7 days. He needs to count 1 clean day. It will remind him about an old tumah. So the Maika Miflagi, what's the machlokes between Ben Zoma and Rabbi Yehuda? Bachuli Avodah Miflagi. Whether or not, if you don't do the tefillos, the avoda is ruined. The Ben Zoma mech lavoda. According to Ben Zoma, it's a deraisa dikadin. And therefore, if you did the avoda without the tefillah, it would be chulin. But Rabbi Yehuda lo mech avoda. It's just a srach. It's for zikaron alone. But if you did it without that tefillah, it doesn't ruin the korban. According to Ben Zoma, does it really machalal the avoda? Vatanya. Kohen Gadol shloi tova v'lo kiddush ben beged lebeged ben avodah lavoda. Now Kohen Gadol, we just learned, has to do 5 tefillos and 10 kiddush yadayim raglayim between avodas and between when he changes his clothes. Let's say the Kohen Gadol doesn't do it on Yom Kippur. Avodas k'sheira. The avodah of the Kohen Gadol is kosher, even though he didn't do the tefillos. However, echad Kohen Gadol, echad Kohen Yedid, shlo kiddush yadav raglav shachris, avad avodah. A Kohen Gadol or a regular Kohen that didn't wash his hands in the morning before the Olas HaTomid, avodas psul. So, but you see by these tvilos between begodim, it's the avodah is kosher. It's not mechula. So, what's the machlokus between Ben Zoma and Rabbi Yehuda? El lamekim basei kamiflagi. They argue whether they're going to be over in an asay. Ben Zoma koi basei. Ben Zoma holds that there's a mitzvah asay to before you go into the area of kedusha. There's a mitzvah asay that you're makayim. Rabbi Yehuda loy koi basei. Rabbi Yehuda there's no asay. It's just a zikaron. Now this issue for Rabbi Yehuda, that it seems to be a zikaron for him. Umi Isle Rabbi Yehuda Haisvara. Does Rabbi Yehuda hold of this? Vatanya. Mitzoyra Toivel v'oimed b'shar nikano. On the 8th day, right? The Mitzvah has to have 7. He has to count 7 clean days. Go to the mikvah on the 7th day. He has hair of shemesh, and he goes to the base of Medish on the 8th day. And he goes to Tvila again and stands at Shar Nikanor. Rabbi Yehuda Einat Tzarach Tvila. Shekvar Tovel mi ba'erev. Now, this goes against this Rabbi Yehuda who said before that even if you're tohor, There's a srach tvila that you to remind him about a tuma yishana. How come over here by the mitzvah, Rabbi Yehuda doesn't require it? So the Gemara says over there, that's a special reason. A mitzvah already had tvila the night before. Now, so what's the kasha? There was another kasha. Lishka samitzoyroim, the mitzvah, there was an area called the Lishka Samitzara that Shasham Mitzvah Toivli. The person who was a Mitzvah did their tefillah there. And Rabbi Yehuda Omer Lo Mitzvah Bilvad Amru Ela Kol Adam. Not just the Mitzvah, but everybody, because L'chora, Rabbi Yehuda requires a tefillah. One place, he says that the Mitzvahim do tefillah in the Mikdash. And another place it says that they don't need it. Like kasha, depends. Hadatov, the Mitzvahim enachanami, if they had tefillah already from the day before, don't need to repeat it. Hadaloy tovel, he has to repeat it. Freight the Gemara, if on the seventh day he didn't have tefillah, and now he's coming on the 8th day of the Beis Hamikdash and he's doing tefillah, it won't work. Erev Shemesh boy. He needs nightfall of that 8th day and then come back the next day. So it can't be that we're talking about tefillah or not tefillah. Elava, I divided the tefillah. Both cases are talking that on the previous day he had tefillah. But hada asach daite, hada lo asach daite. If he kept his mind on a goof tohor and he was careful by tahara, then he doesn't require another tefillah. Person forgot thinking about himself about tahara, yet as a chadas, he requires another tefillah. And for the freik the Gemara, he asach daite hazosh shishvi boy. What do you mean? If you have hesach chadas, there's a forgetfulness about your tumah status. You always have to worry that you were tamei betumas mace. Then you have to count 7 days. What are you talking about? One tefillah is not going to do the trick. It's important din. If a person had hesach hadas regarding tumah v'tahara, he has to count 7 days. That can't be the reason why in one place Rabbi Yehuda said the mitzvah requires tefillah, in the other place he says he doesn't. And for the Gemara, I divided lo yasach hadas. We're not talking about hesach hadas. Lo ikasha. How did tovel al das bias mikdash? When he went to the mikveh, what did he have in mind? If he went in mind because he knew he was going to come into the base of mikdash, then it works. And he doesn't need another tefillah. How did lo tovel al das bias mikdash? If when he went to the mikveh, he went for another reason, not because he was thinking about coming to the base of mikdash, then he needs another tefillah. That's one answer. The boy Tani lo mitzroinim kol adam, that we're not. There's no steer in mitzvah because he's only talking about regular people, and he fulfills what the Mishnah said that a regular person who's going from Chol to the Azor has to have a special tefillah for zikaron purposes. Now, Ravina Amar, that you answer the stira in Rabbi Yehuda differently. Rabbi Yehuda is not talking about his own shita. Rabbi Yehuda livreim drabanan karmelu. Rabbi Yehuda is talking to the chacham. Lididi, according to me, mitzvah tzarach tefillah. I don't require tefillah for the mitzvah. He already had the tefillah. Lidid who requires the tefillah. Oidu li, at least admit to me. Aizi miyas deloy mitzvah bilvado amar lakol adam. That you're going to hold, it's not for the mitzvah, it's for anybody who's going to transfer from Chol to the Azor. And what did Rabbanan respond? Mitzvah daish betuma. No, we don't require kol adam. A mitzvah is tamei, so he hangs around with other tumah. So he requires a special tefillah. Kol adam lo daish betuma. Regular people don't hang around in states of tumah. Armlei by Rav Yosef, name a Rabbanan the plig aled Rabbi Yehuda keben zoyim tzvirle. Are we saying that the Rabbanan who here argue Rabbi Yehuda are holding like benzoma, and that the tefillah is actually required? It's not just a srach tefillah. To show you Rabbi Yehuda that Rabbi Yehuda doesn't even require mitzvah to have that tefillah. Or he requires it, or the other side requires it only because once a mitzvah is tummy, he hangs around with other tummy people. And for the Gemara, yeah, Omer Lei, Shani Mitzvah, Daish Betuma. That's the answer. That since the Mitzvah hangs around with other people, that's why we require this extra chumrah of another tefillah. Omer Lei, Abai Rav Yisrael, Rabbi Yehuda, Omer Srach Tefillah Izu, that it's not a tefillah maker din, but it's a zikaron, chotzeitz or ena chotzeitz. Now, normally by going into the mikvah, we're makbid by chatzitza. Question is, here are we makbid by chatzitza? Okay. So those that are planning to come in person, we have a lot of nice refreshments. You're welcome to come. We're going to start at 8 o'clock.